future belongs to professionals who possess not only technical competence, but also intellectual curiosity, ethical responsibility, creativity, and the capacity to adapt to rapidly changing communication environments. It is now my singular honor and privilege to formally declare the 5th public lecture series open.
Vice Chancellor, sir, I'm here to read the brief profile of today's lecturer, Professor Marcel Okaku, before inviting him to deliver his lecture. I'll go ahead to read his brief profile now. Marcel Anyanye Okaku, PhD, is a professor of broadcasting in the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies at the University of Benin, Benin City, Nigeria. He holds a BA Honors in Theater Arts from the University of Ibadan. He also has the MA and PhD with specialization in broadcasting from the University of Ibadan, Oyo State, Nigeria. Professor Okaku's profile reveals compelling accomplishments in university administration. He was head of the Department of Theater Arts and Mass Communication at the University of Benin and currently serves as the pioneer dean of the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, University of Benin, Benin City. He served as a member of the Governing Council of the University of Benin and also of the Ambrose Ali University, Epoma. He was also a member of the Project Implementation Committee of the Edo State University, Iyamo. Professor Okaku is a strongly committed academic working in the areas of film, broadcasting, theater art, and development communication. He is a very versatile scholar who has taught locally and internationally. He has taught at Franklin College, Franklin, Indiana, Ball State University, Indiana, and Worcester State University, Worcester, Massachusetts, all in the United States of America. He has also worked briefly at the York University, Toronto, Canada. He is highly resourceful and widely published in several scholarly local, national, and international journals with over 91 papers in peer-reviewed journals and chapters in books. In addition, he's a member of several editorial boards of local, national, and international journals. He currently single-handedly edits 5 different journals, demonstrating his editorial prowess and versatility. Professor Marcel Okaku has a strong record of collaboration and involvement in the community of scholars. For example, he's a member of the African Council for Communication Education, Association of Media and Communication Research Scholars of Nigeria, Association of Communication Scholars and Professionals of Nigeria, Society of Nigerian Theater Artists, and Nigeria Academy of Letters, and is the current chairman, West African Association for Commonwealth Literature and Language Studies. Professor Okaku is a distinguished academic mentor, having successfully supervised and graduated 19 PhD candidates and about 17 master's degree students. Professor Okaku would like us to recall that he delivered the 287th inaugural lecture of the University of Benin on the 10th of August 2023. Vice Chancellor, sir, permit me to invite Professor Marcel Okaku to deliver the 5th in the series of the University of Benin Faculty Public Lecture.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, very distinguished members of the Vice Chancellor's entourage, my brother deans and sister deans here present and those who are on their way, very distinguished professors of the University of Ibadan, some I have seen, and very, very distinguished professors of the University of Benin. And I'd like to put on record especially Professor Raymond Elaho. Indeed, he was dean when I came to the university, and he knows my checkered history, F and F and F or F, but that's a lecture for a different day. This morning, or is it afternoon yet? Still morning. This morning, I am standing here to represent our very nascent Faculty of Communications and Media Studies, and of which I'm privileged to be the current dean. As with the philosophy for these university public lectures, we are meant to showcase our various faculties, our embodiments, our goals, our challenges, and the possible solutions that will proffer to the things that dog our path. And today's lecture is grounded on the same philosophy. But let me begin by saying that the title of this lecture is From the Weaverbird as Disseminators of Information to the Digital Phenomenon, the Study of Communications. Before we go into this lecture proper, I'd like to just share a short video so that we can see what we do.
The world as we know is changing. Once upon a time, we needed newspapers and radio to connect to the world around us. The concept of getting messages was near impossible, but like I said, the world is changing, and so is communication. Here at the University of Benin, we understand such concepts, and that is why, just like the word, the Department of Mass Communication is evolving. We are delighted to introduce to you the new Faculty of Communication and Media Studies with 5 specialized departments, such as advertising, broadcasting, film and multimedia, mass communication, public relations. Students can now pursue focus paths while benefiting from an integrated understanding of modern media. And at the center of it all is the Uniben Media Center, a fully equipped industry standard facility designed to give students real-world experience. Inside the VCR, students engage with professional tools from mixers to laptops and advanced editing suites, learning the art of content production and post-production. The TV content studio comes alive with visual storytelling, while the live studio simulates real-time broadcasting experiences. In the radio content studio, voices are refined, ideas are amplified, and stories are heard. The photo lab captures moments with precision, training students in the power of visual communication. The production studio and Pratt studio provide space for creative expression, directing, filming, and technical mastery. And in the cinema room, stories unfold on screen, offering students the experience of viewing and evaluating content in a professional setting. Beyond production, the conference room serves as a space for collaboration, strategy, presentations, and intellectual exchange, where ideas are refined and visions are shaped. Together, these facilities create more than just a learning environment. They create an experience that bridges the gap between classroom knowledge and industry practice. An experience that prepares students not just to participate in the media world, but to lead it. At the University of Benin Media Center, excellence is not just taught, it is practiced.
Thank you very much. That's a short video of the life of the typical communication and media practitioner at the University of Benin. Those facilities you saw are our facilities, and they're the things that we use to train our students. Let me begin, therefore, by alluding to the metaphor of the weaver bird. I am sure that we are all pretty familiar with the weaver bird, and indeed with birds in its family. The weaver bird is singled out because of its beauty and its ability to pollinate several other flowers and shrubs and crops. And in pollinating these flowers, shrubs, and crops, what it simply does is to carry the pollens and deposit them in those other plants, flowers, and crops. And then there's continuous multiplication of the things that are embedded in the pollens. That's exactly what we do as communicators. From pristine time, communication has been with man. When a child is born, and traditional birth attendants, maternity staff, hospital staff, they all know this. When the child is born and the child doesn't cry, it's a signal that something is amiss. So the fact that the child didn't cry communicates a message. And when the child cries, it also communicates a message announcing that I am here now. This is the business of communication. So from pristine time, communication has always been with man. And we moved from that pristine understanding of communication to an involvement of what was later known as mass communication. And as I always argue, and I tell people, mass communication is just one fragment of the complexus of communication. But it gained traction in the early 1940s and became more solidly anchored in 1947-48 in Chicago, when Wilbur Schramm, who is noted as the first PhD holder in that discipline, began to give verve and vim to the study of mass communication. In many schools around the world, and that has happened here too, the nomenclature has always been and the argument whether mass communication should be designated as a Bachelor of Arts program or as a Bachelor of Science program. And from America, where we took this tradition, 80% of the schools that graduate students in mass communication turn them out as BA, Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communication. But over time, there's been a gradual shift from recognizing that there's also an element of science in what is done in this discipline. For instance, behavioral change communication, to now delivering forcefully what is now referred to as the BSc program. In Benin, we have evolved from BA to the BSc, and we are solidly in the BSc program at the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. Now, what exactly do we do? We teach students and society how to communicate, how to interface with one another, how to deal with the world using technology, using face-to-face instruments, and using other instrumentalities that are not exactly captured in the conventional communication definition. So today, for instance, we do what we call interpersonal communication. We do what we also call intrapersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is a communication between two people. John and Philip are talking. They are communicating interpersonally. But Philip can communicate independently, and that is intrapersonal communication. Something that we have always said that we have missed over time, not just us, but many scholars around the globe, is that communication must be effective. I can say Naibia, which is my dialect for saying good morning to people here. If you do not understand what Naibia means, it doesn't mean that I have not communicated. I have said something to you. What has only happened is that you have not understood what I said. And therefore, that kind of communication becomes aberrant. And when communication is aberrant, then there's no efficiency, there's no effectiveness, there's no efficacy in the communication process that has happened. And it is in a bid to cure these anomalies that communication has grown from the pristine perspective to the more urbane and urban concepts of communication. We are dealing with a faculty that is structured around 9 departments. 9 departments. And I will try to list them alphabetically. The first is advertising. The next is broadcasting. The next is development communication. The next is film and multimedia. The next is information and media studies. Then we have journalism and media studies. Then we have public relations. Then we have strategic mass communication, which is the mother discipline. And then we have strategic communication. These are the 9 departments that we have in that faculty. And by the way, all 9 departments have already been approved by the Senate of this university. However, we are operationalizing at the moment 5 departments: advertising, broadcasting, film and multimedia, public relations, and mass communication. And the reason we have chosen to do this is to make haste slowly. Otherwise, we could have begun with all 9, but we then spread ourselves thin, particularly given that we didn't have enough manpower to begin with. So, we would like to look at these various departments and see how they interface, how they cohere, and what they do to produce for society the very great gains that is expected of communication practice. Let's begin with advertising, for instance. Advertising, the PowerPoint rolling? Oh, okay, thank you. Advertising can be seen as strategic communication, and in more senses than one. Because what advertising does is to create mileage for goods, products, and services. It's to create awareness. It's to create presence. And also to build brands. You want to create a knowledge of what is, what exists. And you need advertising to be able to do this. In doing that, you must use the most basic of tools that is available to the advertiser, which is creativity. The advertiser must be very creative in his thoughts and in his productions. Creativity will, market research will guarantee consumer satisfaction and coordinated behavior. What are the core areas in advertising? Copywriting. Every advertising has a copy. It is a copy that carries the message, and that message is embedded in what we call copywriting. You have to produce that message. Sometimes some of us have heard of the acronym USP. USP is the unique selling point. Where does the USP come in? It's in the copy. You have to create the logic, the reason for which this product is being marketed, is being pushed. In the USP, what gives it an advantage over and above the other? I'll give you an example. Many of us use a plethora of toothpaste. Colgate, Maclean, Close-Up, Oral-B, etc., etc. And they tell you that they do X, Y, Z. One says it fights tartar, particularly for those who smoke. The other one says it whitens your teeth. The other one says it gives you deep, satisfying breath, and so on and so forth. There has to be a reason why you, as a rational consumer, you are preferring and choosing one over the other. That's the USP. That's the unique selling point of that brand, of that product. And this is what we capture in your copywriting. Then we talk about brand identity. Every product is a brand. Every product. Take petrol. People will tell you, oh, if you go to Mega, this is not professional. I should not actually mention Mega. But if you go to station X, the kind of petrol that is dispensed smells of sulfur. And that's not good for your engine, for your combustion. The other one tells you, oh, if you go to station Y, it's on third circular. You will pay more, but you will get premium, quality petroleum product. The other one tells you, come on, what do I care? Just enter into any gas station and fill your car. This certainly is not the kind of thing you want to do. You want to ensure that the brand that you are sticking with has an image, has an identity. Because it's the identity that sells you really. The fact that I can drive from my house at Ogba to go to some gas station 10 miles away from me, it's not because there are no gas stations on the way. is because there's something that is peculiar. That brand has been built, and those who own brands don't want to destroy those brands because the brands sell the products. So brand identity is very key in advertising. Media planning. We do a lot of media planning in advertising so that you can decide what platform, what outlet you put your product or your goods or service. It's not for fun that people tell you, for instance, that take prime time if you want mileage for your goods. Prime time may be more expensive, but the mileage you get is 3-4 times what you would have gotten if you just took a spot on. So, media planning is very key. Then we have AI-assisted advertising. And I'm sure we see this every day now on our social media platforms. We see TikTok, we see all kinds of things that are happening on social media. Artificial intelligence-assisted advertising. Then, of course, we have digital analytics. We have digital analytics. Some of you watch particular things on Facebook or on your page on Instagram. And you find that the next time you log into it, similar things are fed in your reel. And it is not somebody who is generating those similarities in what you see. It's the analytics of what your interest is, what you have been seeing lately, that determines what is now fed to you. That's digital analytics. What are the career opportunities in this discipline? As an advertiser, a man or woman who has trained in this discipline, you can become a creative director, you can become an account director, you can become a brand manager, you can become a media planner, you can become a copywriter, you can become digital marketing specialist. And what is your impact on society when you become all of this or some of this? You will be able to drive economic growth and promote innovations and fund media activities. Let's move on to broadcasting, which is very akin in a sense to advertising. And then what is broadcasting? Many people have said that broadcasting is the dissemination of information across space and time over a heterogeneous plane. That used to be the definition of broadcasting. But today, broadcasting is beyond just the dissemination of information. It is a transmission of audiovisual materials to mass audiences wherever they may be. And it covers both traditional broadcasting and digital streaming platforms. So you can get materials from ITV, for instance. That's a broadcast channel. From EBS is a broadcast channel. From Speed FM is a broadcast channel. But it's gone beyond just this transmission of materials. There's so much more happening in it now, particularly with the embrace of digital technology. The digital embrace has made broadcasting go beyond mere terrestrial television or radio productions. Now, what are the core areas in broadcasting? Radio and television presentation, production and directing, script writing, podcasting, virtual studies, AI-assisted broadcasting, and so on and so forth. All of these career paths are dealt with when you begin to want to solidly foreground yourself in the areas of this discipline. So one, when you get training in radio and TV presentation, in production and directing, in script writing, podcasting, etc., etc., what are we preparing you for? Where are you going to land? Where will you find a job that would absorb you and make you not only self-sufficient, but also being able to contribute to the growing needs of your environment, particularly your national landscape. So you need to be a broadcaster to be able to articulate the issues of society, issues of man, life, and living. Many of us live off radio and television broadcasts. My father, God rest his soul, used to wake up with his radio and he would tune to Radio Deutsche Welle. Then he would tune to VOA. And then he would tune to Federal Radio Corporation of Nigeria. I didn't understand the logic where you would begin with Radio Deutsche Welle in Germany and go to VOA in America and then come to FRCN in Nigeria. And he used to say to me that, you know, if I hear it from VOA, I hear it from Deutsche Welle, and then I hear it from FRCN, then I believe that it is true. If I hear from FRCN alone, and it's not in Deutsche Welle, it's not in VOA, then it's possible that it's not correct. I mean, my father has been gone some 26 or so years. So it tells you how long ago that bias has been with those who consume broadcast information. So now you are training you to be able to not only verify what you offer as a broadcaster, but to ensure that your channel enjoys credibility. Because if there's no credibility around what you produce, very quickly you will lose your audience. And when you lose your audience, you also lose your revenue. And revenue is key. Everybody wants to be able to have revenue to do what it does. You can look at our landscape, our media landscape. NTA is there. NTA depends on government for subsidies and grants to be able to do their business. Channels is there. Channels does not get a dime from government as grants or subsidy, except that they cut government's friendship and get government to use them to broadcast some things. But that is because there's some faith, there's belief in that channel. Otherwise, channels would also not enjoy it. My brother and kinsman, God rest his soul, Raymond Dokwesi, owned a radio and television station. Indeed, it was the first of the private stations in Nigeria. It did very well until a point when the channels of this world, the Arise of this world, the Maurice of this world took over from him. And I consulted for him at the time. And every time I said to him, Uncle Ray, this is not happening because that is not in place, this is not in place. For instance, how do you owe your staff 3-4 months salary and expect them to be productive? And they will say to me, if there's nothing they are gaining, why are they still coming to work? But you see, that's the laissez-faire approach to media management. Once you do that and the people now know that you couldn't be bothered, okay, they will use the place as their farm and make all the monies for themselves and remit pittance to you. And your station, of course, will not do well. As they say, those who pay peanuts get monkeys for their gratifications. So if you pay peanuts, you're not going to get anything better than a monkey. So this is one of the things that we are struggling to train students on, so they realize that broadcasting is not just the ability to provide information, but a sure revenue base to enable them earn a decent living. We have producers, those who produce the materials. You can be a news anchor. Do you know where your daughter is tonight? Do you remember that? Who is that? Frank Olize. Frank Olize was a celebrated news anchor alongside Oke. And every Sunday evening at 8 p.m., prime time, people are struggling to go to the family deity, which is the television, to listen to Frank Olize. Do you know where your daughter is tonight? And then he begins his anchorage of the story. That's what we are training students to be, to become proper anchors. Larry King, I'm sure some of us will know him and have encountered him on CNN. Larry King would take on a guest, eyeball to eyeball, no matter who you are. And he will ask you the questions that will either mar you or break you. And that's how Nixon Gate broke. Because Larry King sat on that desk and said, Mr. President, could it be true that you did this? And President was very uncomfortable. Not exactly, but this is what we did. And said, Mr. President, stay with the question. You need to be able to give that kind of training. Every now and then we hear that, oh, the media is implicated in the corrupt tendencies that envelop our society. If you don't train them well, what you get is this, is garbage in, garbage out. So you can also become a continuity announcer, an OAP, on-air presenter. You can become a broadcast engineer. You can become a content creator. Indeed, many people are creating content these days, user-generated content, UCG. And we have what we call now, with the advent of our smartphones, CJ. CJ is citizen journalism. Everybody is now a journalist. You just snap the event with your camera as it's unfolding and you post it. The etiquettes, values, and morals of that discipline are completely strange to you and unknown to you. A plane has crashed. There are several dead bodies on the ground. Our sense of empathy and sympathy is completely killed. All you are interested in is just to record what is there and put it on air. I mean, no trained journalist, no trained broadcaster will do that. These are things we are trying to instill in our students so they know the value of what they should be doing. I would like you to see this so that you see again.
On the news, Christian Association of Nigeria declares a 3-day national mourning in solidarity with kidnapped victim. PSG edged Arsenal 4-3 on penalties to clinch back-to-back Champions League title. Good day and welcome to Univibes TV News. I am John Esizobo. Now the news in detail. The Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, has declared a 3-day national mourning period from 12th to 14th of June 2026 to honor the victim of violence attack, mass abduction, and banditry across the country. The president of CAN, Danny Oko, made the announcement last week in Abuja while reading a communique issued at the end of the National Church Denominational Leaders Summit. The church body also designated June 14th as Black Sunday across all churches as a mark of solidarity with families affected by the lingering security crisis. The Nigeria Labour Congress is pushing for a 1 million monthly minimum wage, dismissing the 100,000 figure being considered by state government as grossly inadequate. Speaking during the interview with the press, spokesperson for the Nigeria Labour Congress, Benson Upa, said, with the current economic reality, naira depreciation, rising inflation, higher electricity tariff, fuel price hikes, and new tax measure, 100,000 is far below the realistic figure needed for workers to cope. Adding that a million naira wage is what would be realistic subject to the status quo maintenance of current costs. Upa's demands comes after Kwara State Governor and Nigerian Governors Forum Chairman Abdurraham Abdurrazak disclosed that governors were considering a 100,000 minimum wage to address the rising costs and financial pressure on workers. Though the Nigerian Governors Forum has not formally presented a new wage framework to the federal government or organized labor. More stories to come after the break. Stay tuned.
Naija dey busy, everywhere dey hot o. After the hustle of the day, wetin?
And how we are trying to be professional in our faculty. We move from that to development communication, which is communicating for sustainable social and community development. And this discipline encourages participation and behavioral change. There is nowhere in the world today where development studies is no longer relevant. Development studies indeed is the way to go. People are looking for funding to do things for communities. It is from development partners and NGOs that they find those funds. But the beauty of development studies is that it doesn't communicate a top-down position or lords it over by legislation. It means that it connects the people with leadership. For instance, you cannot single-handedly decide for a community what you think their needs are. You must be able to interface with the community to find out what the problem is and then collectively seek the solution. Because if you do not do that, what you end up doing is providing solution for a problem that is not considered a problem. What I mean is, you look at community A, you think that what their problem is roads. And so you embark on building roads. Meanwhile, that community has no potable drinking water. For them, your road is good, but that's not a priority. The priority is water. And therefore, for development studies, we must be able to communicate the needs of the people. And you cannot communicate these needs if you do not interface with the people. But that's not even the only reason. The other reason is that the people must own the projects that are brought to them. Because if you legislate a project and you do it and go, and there's no buy-in from those whom that project is supposed to serve, then that project may just be useless in the end. But once you have a buy-in through the establishment of CBOs, community-based organizations, or community development agencies, then they will protect that facility and use it ultimately and judiciously for their growth. Community development, communication for development has core areas in community mobilization, public health, communication, Ebola is there, HIV is there, name it. You have to communicate the challenges. We hear now that Ebola is ravaging DRC. What plans are we making in Nigeria to ensure that we don't have another Soya? and that would take another adedavo from us. These are things that development studies deal with. Advocacy, agricultural extension, social behavior change, etc. What are the career opportunities in this discipline? You become a development consultant, you can be an NGO officer, you can be a community mobilizer, you can become corporate social responsibility specialist, and what is your impact? To empower communities and sustain development.
My people, time don't reach again to decide the future of Nigeria. Your vote now your power, and your PVC now the key where you go take make your vote count. If you not get PVC, you not be votes, and if you no vote, other people go decide your future for you.
Person wey don reach 18 years, papa, mama, worker, make una wake up, go register for your PVC now. Registration dey end for Friday, July 10. Waka enter INEC office near your area. Make you do your own. You fit still do one by yourself for phone at cvr.inecnigeria.org.
No sit down for house, they complain tomorrow. Go.
Not good. It's not enough to say they are not good. What is your instrument for achieving that which you desire? That's a development message, an advocacy message to all of us. Many of us play football when election is ongoing. People are voting at the polling units. The other ones are playing football and Ludo. And then you want to have a different result. It's not possible. We'll then shift our attention to film and multimedia studies. And for film and multimedia studies, this is creating very compelling stories with digital media technology. You create very compelling stories. And then we have core areas here as screenwriting, cinematography, video editing, animation, visual effects, AI-assisted productions, and so on and so forth. What are the career paths? You can become a film editor, you can become a film director, you can become an animator, you can become a multimedia producer, you can become a VFX artist. Indeed, you can do so much. Before now, the only thing known to film was linear editing. Now, there is non-linear editing, which enables you to begin from the front or begin from behind, knowing that you can ultimately put your strips together. So when we move from film and multimedia, we go to information and media studies. Information and media studies is very akin to the things that our brothers and sisters do in computer science. Indeed, it is a computer science program that is anchored solidly on communicating the values of computer and computer usage. So here we examine digital information and media systems. How do they interface, and what is the relationship between the system and society? What are the core areas of interest and study? Information management, data analytics, UX and UI designs, cybersecurity, digital literacy. That's why I say you think that this is in computer science, but there's the interface. And then what do you become? Where can you find jobs when you graduate from these programs? You can become a data analyst, a special effects specialist, a UF designer, an information architect. And what impact can you possibly make on your society? You combat misinformation because you have the training of a communicator to know what information is right and what information is wrong, and to know when and where to place information. And then you promote responsible digital communication. We're in a digital age where a slight touch of the button can change the meaning of what you want to say. Then we go to the old discipline of journalism and media studies. I'm sure everybody is familiar with this. Newspapers, vendor stands, radio news at 4 p.m., television news at 8 p.m. All of these are in the journalism bracket. Before people could talk about mass communication, what they always talked about was journalism. But journalism was then a subsect like every other subsect under mass communication. What are the areas here that we want to look at? Because they are concerned with gathering information, verifying the same information, and disseminating very credible information to the audience. So here we are dealing with investigative reporting, data journalism, fact-checking. You know, these days several things are put out there that are not correct. You should be able to fact-check. Multimedia storytelling, media law, and ethics. We used to get faculty of law to teach media law and ethics for us. But we then realized that, yes, they are the lawyers, but the things that are peculiar to the discipline are left out, particularly in case notes, when you use the case notes to illustrate them. So we have now embraced that completely, trying to see that we interface with the lawyers to do this. I'm told that our time is almost up. We will do the next very quickly, which is mass communication. Mass communication is a mother discipline from where all other disciplines that we are talking about have evolved. And the areas of interest, career paths are very well outlined in the slides. Then we look at public relations. And this is very important because with public relations, we are not just talking about image making and publicity. We are talking about strategic management of organizational reputations and the stakeholders' reputations. The stakeholders being the internal and the external audiences of the organizations. So what do they do? Corporate communication, crisis communication, media relations, reputation management, event management, etc., etc. And they also have their career card in these various areas. We will look at strategic communication, which is indeed the last subject. And this has to do with integrated, research-driven communication for achieving organizational goals. Strategic, integrated, research-focused for achieving organizational goals. What are the core areas? Communication strategy, campaign planning, public opinion, social media analytics, AI, etc. And the impact, governance, and all that. If you look at the chart ahead of you, you will see the various disciplines, their strengths, the methodology for achieving what we have talked about, and the impact they make on society. We have also shown there the epistemological evolution of various disciplines. And apart from that, we have also set apart the challenges and development priorities that these various disciplines require. One of the things that we must talk about here, and we want to appeal to university management, is that part of the workforce achieving growth in our studios is lacking because we do not have properly trained staff, technologists. We do not have them because most of the people that we got were centrally deployed staff from registry. And the attitude to broadcasting, for instance, is not there. 8 to 4, I must go home. And broadcasting is not an 8 to 4 business. We'd like to thank the Vice Chancellor for this opportunity. And to thank the Faculty Management Committee, the heads of department, and the Dean's Office, and more particularly the chairman of this event planning committee, Mrs. Obaje.
Get ready for an exciting and unforgettable.
Let's give the lecturer a bigger round of applause. Professor Okaku is a veritable communicator. You know, if you give him 3 hours, if we don't stop him, he will not live here. Thank you, sir. Discussing the weaver bird as disseminators of information to the digital phenomenon, the study of communication. Once again, we thank you, sir. Now time for questions and answers. If I have the indulgence of the acting Vice Chancellor, we'll take 2 questions from my left, 2 questions from my right-hand side. So please, if you have questions, especially students, if there's any area that is not clear and you want the lecturer to expatiate on, please indicate. The lecturer is lucid. Let's give the lecturer another round of applause. I agree that we have all been carried along. We have all understood the communication of the communicator. Thank you. And now to the 8th item on the agenda, which is the presentation of plaque and certificate, followed by group photographs. Secretary of the committee, Mrs. Tracy Omar, please.
On behalf of the Vice Chancellor, Professor Dubabi, Authorities and Advocate of Nigeria, I'd like to present this certificate of lecture presentation to Professor Marcel Okaku.
Well done, sir. Thank you. Please sit. May I now respectfully invite the chairman of the Uniben Committee on Public Lecture, Professor B.A. Ayinde, for the vote of thanks. Professor Ayinde.
Our dear Vice Chancellor, Professor Edoba Omarige, SAN, ably represented, all the members of management here seated, our dear lecturer, our deans, directors, Professor Emeritus amongst us, all other professors, our lecturers, students, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of our Vice Chancellor, I want to thank every one of us. We first thank the
Vice Chancellor who has been, or who is the brain behind this program. And he always says that, initially when we started that time, we were trying to make it 2 months affair. It was the Vice Chancellor that said it must be every month because of the love, because of the enthusiasm he has for this cause. We thank him immensely. And we equally thank each and every one of us for finding time to be here as staff, students, and friends of the university. All the members of planning committee, including our own PRO, who I wanted to say at the time that Madam was partial today, because the lecturer belongs to our own profession as a broadcaster. Every one of us, thank you very much. And I believe in the next month is going to be the turn of Faculty of Computing. Professor Akukuma. Okay. So, and that is how we'll be doing it every month. Thank you for coming. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Acting VC, sir, other principal officers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the concluding part of this very important lecture. But before we go, I would ask now that we rise for the Uniben anthem and the national pledge. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend her unity, and uphold her honor and glory. So help me God. Please remain standing.